So today Deepika will be chanting Samadhi Padam Sutras 1 to 39, and we all will be meditating on that. Let's sit in a comfortable position. Close your eyes, cross your legs and clasp your hands. Observe your normal and natural breath. Breath is our Guru. Breath is our Brahma. Breath is our Vishnu.
Pranams to Brahmashi Pitamaha Patriji and Patanjali Master. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vyadakena yopakarottam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjalim ranatosmi अथ पातंजलि योग सूत्राणि प्रथमोऽध्यायः समाधिपादः अथ योगानुशासनं योगः चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरूपे अवस्थानं वृत्तिसारूप्यमितरत्र वृत्तयः पञ्चतयः क्लिष्टाः प्रमाण विपर्यय विकल्प निद्रा स्मृतयः प्रत्यक्ष अनुमान आगमः प्रमाणानि विपर्ययो मिथ्या ज्ञानम् अतद्रुप प्रतिष्ठम् शब्द ज्ञान अनुपति वस्तुशून्यो विकल्पः अभाव प्रत्यय आलम्बन वृत्तिर्निद्रः अनुभूत विषय संप्रमोषः स्मृतिः अभ्यास वैराग्याभ्यां तन्निरोधः तत्र स्थितौ यत्नोऽभ्यासः स तु दीर्घकाले कालनैरन्तर्य सत्कर असेवितं दृढभूमिः दृष्टा अनुश्रविक विषय वितृष्णस्य वशीकारसंज्ञ वैराग्यं तत्परं पुरुष ख्यातैर्गुण वैतृष्ण्यं वितर्क विचार आनंद अस्मित रूप अनुगमात् संप्रज्ञतः विराम प्रत्यय अभ्यास पूर्वः संस्कार शेषोऽन्ययः शेषः अन्ययः भाव प्रत्ययो विदेह प्रकृतिलयानां श्रद्धा वीर्य स्मृति समाधि प्रज्ञा पूर्वकः इतरेषां तीव्र संवेगनाम् आसन्नः मृदुमत्य अधिमात्रत्वात् ततोपि विशेषः ईश्वर प्रणिधानाद्वा क्लेश कर्म विपाक अशयै अपारं मृष्टः पुरुष विशेष ईश्वरः तत्र निरतिशयं सर्वज्ञ बीजं पूर्वेषामपि गुरुः कालेन अनवच्छेदात् तस्य वाचकः प्रणवः तज्जपः तदर्थभावनं ततः प्रत्यक्चेतन अधिगमो अपि अन्तराय अभावश्च व्याधि स्त्यान संशय प्रमाद आलस्य अविरति भ्रान्तिर्दर्शन आलब्ध भूमिकत्वा अनवस्थितितत्वानि दुःख दौर्मनस्य अंगमेजयत्व श्वास प्रश्वास विक्षेप सहभुवः तत्प्रतिषेध अर्थम् एक तत्व अभ्यासः मैत्री करुणा मुदिता उपेक्षानां सुखदुःख पुण्यापुण्य विषयाणां भवनातः चित्तप्रसादनम् प्रच्छर्दन विदारण अभयं वा प्राणस्य विषयवतीव प्रवृत्तिरुत्पन्न मनसः स्थितिनिबन्धिनी विशोक वा ज्योतिष्मती वीतरागविषयं वा चित्तं स्वप्ना निद्रा ज्ञान आलम्बनं वा यथा अभिमता ध्यानाद्वा. Thus we come to the end of 39 sutras of the first Samadhi Padam. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, Madhavi.
Thank you, Deepika. Balagaru, do you want to chant and the next?
योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि अथ पातञ्जलयोगसूत्राणि प्रथमोऽध्यायः समाधिपादः अथ योगानुशासनं योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तथा द्रष्टुस्वरूपेव स्थानं वृत्तिसारूप्यमितरत्र वृत्तयः पञ्चतय्यक्लिष्टाः प्रमाणविपर्ययविकल्पनिद्रा स्मृतयः प्रत्यक्षानुमानागमा प्रमाणानि विपर्ययो मिथ्याज्ञानमतद्रूपप्रतिष्ठम् शब्दज्ञानानुपाति वस्तुशून्यो विकल्पः अभावप्रत्ययालम्बना वृत्तिर्निद्रा अनुभूतविषया सम्प्रमोषस्मृतिः अभ्यासवैराग्याभ्यां तन्निरोधः तत्र स्थितौ यत्नोऽभ्यासः स तु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्यसत्कारा सेवितो दृढभूमिः दृष्टानुश्रविकविषयवितृष्णस्य वशीकारसंज्ञा वैराग्यं तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ण्यं वितर्कविचारानन्दास्मिता स्वरूपानुगमात् सम्प्रज्ञातः विरामप्रत्ययाभ्यासपूर्वः संस्कारशेषोऽन्यः भवप्रत्ययो विदेहप्रकृतिलयानां श्रद्धा वीर्यस्मृतिसमाधिप्रज्ञापूर्वक इतरेषां तीव्रसंवेगानास्मासन्नः मृदुमध्यादिमात्रत्वात् ततोऽपि विशेषः ईश्वरप्रणिधानाद्वा क्लेशकर्म विपाकासायैरपरामृष्टः पुरुषविशेष ईश्वरः तत्र निरतिशयं सर्वज्ञबीजं स पूर्वेषामपि गुरुकालेनानवच्छेदात् तस्य वाचकप्रणवः तज्जपस्तदर्थभावनं ततः प्रत्यक्षेतनादिगमोऽप्यन्तरायाभावश्च व्याधिस्त्यानसंशयप्रमादालस्य विरतिभ्रान्तिदर्शनालब्ध भूमिकत्वानवस्थितत्वानि चित्तविक्षेपास्तेऽन्तरायाः दुःखदौर्मनस्याङ्गमे जयत्वश्वासप्रश्वासा विक्षेपसह भुवः तत्प्रतिषेधार्थमेकतत्त्वाभ्यासः मैत्री करुणामुदितोपेक्षाणां सुखदुःखपुण्यापुण्यविषयाणां भावनातश्चित्तप्रसादनं प्रच्छर्दनविदारणाभ्यां वा प्राणस्य विषयवती वा प्रवृत्तिरुत्पन्न मनसस्थितिनिबन्धिनी विशोका वा ज्योतिष्मती वीतरागविषयं वा चित्तं स्वप्ननिद्राज्ञानालम्बनं वा यथाभिमतध्यानाद्वा परमाणुपरममहत्वान्तोऽस्य वशीकारः.
Prachi.
Yes. 1 minute.
You're on mute, Prachi.
Just a second, Madhvi. I'm putting
Okay.
my.
Or we can ask somebody to do it if you're not ready.
I'm ready. Just give me. I have to put my papers together. That's it. Yeah. Okay. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि अथ पातञ्जलयोगसूत्राणि प्रथमोऽध्यायः समाधिपादः अथ योगानुशासनं योगविच्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तदा द्रष्टुस्वरूपेव स्थानं वृत्तिसारूप्यमितरत्र वृत्तयः पञ्चतयः क्लिष्टाः प्रमाणविपर्ययविकल्पनिद्रा स्मृतयः प्रत्यक्षानुमानागमाः प्रमाणानि विपर्ययो मिथ्या ज्ञानमतद्रूपप्रतिष्ठम् शब्दज्ञानानुपाति वस्तुशून्यो विकल्पः अभावप्रत्ययालम्बनावृत्तिर्निद्रा अनुभूतविषया सम्प्रमोषः स्मृतिः अभ्यासवैराग्याभ्यां तन्निरोधः तत्र स्थितौ यत्नोऽभ्यासः स तु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्यसत्कारसेवितो दृढभूमिः द्रष्टानुश्रविकविषयवितृष्णस्य वशीकारसंज्ञा वैराग्यम् तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ण्यम् वितर्कविचारानन्दास्मितारूपानुगमात् सम्प्रज्ञातः विराम प्रत्ययाभ्यासपूर्वः संस्कारशेषोऽन्यः भवप्रत्ययो विदेह प्रकृतिलयानां श्रद्धा वीर्य स्मृति समाधि प्रज्ञापूर्वक इतरेषाम् तीव्र संवेगानामासन्नः मृदु मध्याधिमात्रत्वात् ततोपि विशेषः ईश्वर प्रणिधानाद्वा क्लेशकर्म विपाकाशयैर्परामृष्टः पुरुष विशेष ईश्वरः तत्र निरतिशयं सर्वज्ञ बीजम् सपूर्वेषामपि गुरुः काले नानवच्छेदात् तस्य वाचक प्रणवः तज्जपस्तदर्थभावनम् ततः प्रत्येकचेतनादिगमोऽप्यन्तराय भावश्च व्याधिस्त्यान संशय प्रमादालास्य विरति दर्शनालब्ध भूमिकत्वानवस्थि तत्वानि चित्तविक्षेपासतेऽन्तरायः दुःखदौर मनस्यांगमेज यत्व श्वास प्रश्वासा विक्षेप सह भुवः तत्प्रतिषेधार्थमेकतत्वाभ्यासः मैत्री करुणा मुदितोपेक्षाणां सुख दुःख पुण्य विषयाणां भावनातश्चित्त प्रसादनम् प्रच्छर्दन विधारणाभ्याम वा प्राणस्य विषयवती वा प्रवृत्तिरुत्पन्ना मनसः स्थितिनिबन्धिनी विशोका वा ज्योतिष्मती वीतरागविषयं वा चित्तम् स्वप्ननिद्रा ज्ञानलम्बनं वा यथाभिमतध्यानद्वा परमाणुपरं महत्वान्तोस्य वशीकारः.
Thank you, Prachi. Ravali?
Yeah, Madam. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. अतः योगानुशासनं योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरूपेव स्थानं वृत्तिसारूप्यमितरत्र वृत्तयः पञ्चतयः क्लिष्टाः प्रमाणाविपर्ययविकल्पनिद्रा स्मृतयः प्रत्यक्षानुमानागमाः प्रमाणानि विपर्ययो मिथ्याज्ञानमतद्रूपप्रतिष्ठम् शब्दज्ञानानुपाति वस्तुशून्यो विकल्पः अभावप्रत्ययालम्बनावृत्तिर्निद्रा अनुभूतविषया सम्प्रमोषः स्मृतिः अभ्यासवैराग्याभ्यां तन्निरोधः तत्र स्थितौ यत्नोऽभ्यासः स तु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्यसत्कारासेवितौ दृढभूमिः दृष्टानुश्रविकविषयवितृष्णस्य वशीकारसंज्ञा वैराग्यं तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ण्यं वितर्कविचारानन्दास्मितारूपानुगमात् सम्प्रज्ञातः विरामप्रत्ययाभ्यासपूर्वाः संस्कारशेषोऽन्यः भवप्रत्ययो विदेहप्रकृतिलयानाम्. श्रद्धा वीर्यस्मृतिसमाधिप्रज्ञापूर्वाक इतरेषां तीव्रसंवेगानामासन्नः मृधमध्यादिमात्रत्वात् ततोऽपि विशेषः ईश्वरप्रणिधानाद्वा क्लेशकर्मविपाकाशयैर्परामृष्टः पुरुषविशेष ईश्वरः तत्र निरतिशयं सर्वज्ञबीजं स पूर्वशामापि गुरुः कालेनानवच्छेदात् तस्य वाचकः प्रणवः तज्जपस्तदर्थभावनम् ततः प्रत्यक्चेतनादिगमोऽप्यान्तरायाभावश्च व्याधिसत्यान् संशयप्रमादालस्या विरति भ्रान्तिदर्शनालब्धभूमिकत्वानवस्थितत्वानि चित्तविक्षेपास्तेऽन्तरायाः दुःखदौर्मनस्याङ्गमेजयत्वश्वासप्रश्वासविक्षेपसह भुवः तत्प्रतिषेधार्थमेकतत्त्वाभ्यासः मैत्रीकरुणामृदितोपेक्षानां सुखदुःखपुण्यापुण्यविषयाणां भावनातश्चित्तप्रसादनम् प्रच्छर्दविदारणाभ्यां वा प्राणस्य विषयवती वा प्रवृत्तिरुत्पन्ना मानसः स्थितिनिबन्धनी विशोका वा ज्योतिष्मती वीतरागविषयं वा चित्तम् स्वप्ननिद्राज्ञानालम्बनं वा यथाभिमतद्वाद्वा. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Prachi. Aruna? Yeah.
योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। अतः समाधिपादः अथ योगानुशासनं योगश्चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरेपावस्थानां वृत्तिसारूप्यमितरत्र वृत्तयः पञ्चतयः क्लिष्टान् क्लिष्टाः प्रमाणविपर्ययविकल्पनिद्रा स्मृतयः प्रत्यक्षानुमानागमाः प्रमाणानि विपर्ययो मिथ्याज्ञानमतद्रूपप्रतिष्ठम् शब्दज्ञानानुपाति वस्तुशून्यो विकल्पः अभावप्रत्ययालम्बना वृत्तिर्निद्रा अनुभूतविषया सम्प्रमोषः स्मृतिः अभ्यासवैराग्यां तन्निरोधः तत्र स्थितौ यत्नोऽभ्यासः स तु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्य सत्कारासेवितो दृढभूमिः दृष्टानुश्रविकविषयवितृष्टस्य वशीकारसंज्ञा वैराग्यं तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेर्गुणवैतृष्ट्यं वितर्कविचारानन्दास्मितारूपानुगमात् सम्प्रज्ञातः विरामप्रत्ययाभ्यासपूर्वः संस्कारशेषोऽन्यनः भवप्रत्ययो विदेहप्रकृतिलयनां श्रद्धावीर्यस्मृति समाधिप्रज्ञा पूर्वक इतरेषां तीव्रसंवेगानामासन्नः मृदुमध्यादिमात्रत्वात् तत्तोऽपि विशेषः ईश्वरप्रणिधानाद्वा क्लेशकर्मविपाकाशयैरपरामृष्टः पुरुषविशेष ईश्वरः तत्र निरतिशयं सर्वज्ञबीजं स एषः पूर्वेषामपि गुरुः कालेनानवच्छेदात् तस्य वाचः कः प्रणवः तज्जः पस्तदर्धभावनं ततः प्रत्यक्षे तत नाधिगमोऽन्यन्तराया भावश्च व्याधिस्त्यान संशय प्रमादालस्या विरति भ्रान्ति दर्शनालब्धभूमिकत्वानवस्थितत्वानि चित्तविक्षेपास्तेऽन्तरायाः दुःखधौर्मन स्यांगमे जयत्वश्वास प्रश्वासा विक्षेपसः भुवः तत्प्रतिषेधार्थमेकतत्त्वाभ्यासः मैत्री करुणामुदितोपेक्षाणां सुखदुःखपुण्या पुण्यविषयाणां भावना तश्चित्तप्रसादनं प्रचर्धनविधारणाभ्यां वा प्राणस्य विषयवती वा प्रवृत्तिरुत्पन्ना मनसः स्थितिनिबन्धिनी विशोका वा ज्योतिष्मती वीतरागविषयं वा चित्तं स्वप्ननिद्रा ज्ञानालम्बनं वा यथाभिमतध्यानाद्वा परमाणुपरममहत्त्वान्तोऽस्य वशीकारः. Thank you, Madhu.
Thank you, Aruna. I think Sonam is not there. Madhu, you can go.
Yeah, thank you. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. अतः Patanjali Yoga Sutrani Prathamodhyayah Samadhi Padaha Atah Yoganuशासनम् Yogaschittavritti Nirodhaha Tatha Drastusya Rupe Vastanam Vrittisarupyamittaratra Vrittayah Panchatayah Klishtaha Pramana Viparyaya Vikalpanitra Smritayah Pratyakshanumanagama Pramanani Viparyayo Mithya Jnana Matadrupa Pratishtam Shabdagnananupati Vastu Sunyo Vikalpaha Abhava Pratyayalambana Vrittir Nidra Anubhuta Vishaya Sampramoshah Smritihi Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam Tannirodhaha Tatra Stithau Yatno Bhyasaha Satu Dhirga Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Drudha Bhuvihi Drushtanushavika Vishaya Vitrushnasya Vashikara Sanya Vairagyam Tatparam Purushakhyatirguna Vitarka Vicharananda Smita Swarupanugamat Sampragnataha Virama Pratyayabhyasa Purvaha Samskara Seshonyaha Bhava Pratyayo Videha Prakritilayanam Shraddha Virya Smriti Samadhi Prajna Purvaka Itaresham Tivra Samveganamasannah Mrudumadhyathimatrutvantopi Viseshaha Ishvara Pranidhanadva Klesha Karma Vipaka Shayairaparamrushtaha Purusha Vishesha Ishvaraha Tatra Niratisayam Sarvagna Bijam Sapurveshamapi Guru Kalena Navaschetat Tasya Vachakaha Pranavaha Tachapasthatartha Bhavanam Tata Pratyakchetanadigamopyantaraya Bhavascha Vyadhistyana Samsaya Pramadalasya Nirati Bhranti Darsana Labdha Bhumi Katvanavastitatvani Chitta Vikshepa Saintarayaha Dukkha Dhaurmanasyangame Jayatva Swasa Praswasa Vikshepa Saha Bhuvaha Tat Pratishethartha Mekatattvabhyasaha Maitri Karuna Muditopekshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Vishayanam Bhavana Taschitta Prasadanam Taccha Pracharthana Vidharanabhyam Va Pranasya Vishayavati Va Pravrittirutpanna Manasah Sthiti Nibandhini Vishoka Va Jyotishmati Vitaraga Vishayam Va Chittam Swapnana Nidragnana Lambanam Va Yathabhimata Dhyanadva.
Thank you, Madhu. So looks like Sonam said she can't come. So Sonam is the first one who is going to do the explanation. Everybody did great, guys. Very impressive. The Sutra chanting. So 37. Any takers? Or I can just read it from the book. Sutra 37. Looks like we are doing our own homework. That's good. So, Vita Raga Vishayam Va Chittam. Or by concentrating on a great soul's mind, which is totally freed from attachment to sense objects. This can be regarded as an alternative to the above sutra. If you can't imagine or believe in your own inner light, then look to the heart of the great saint, prophet, or yogi in whom you have faith. Perhaps you can perceive the light there is. That is 37. If anybody wants to add anything, Balagaru, Ravli, Madhu.
Yeah, I think mostly what you have said is that, sometimes when we have to look into our heart and concentrate, we feel like, am I worth it? My heart is all full of rubbish. So we can't concentrate. All these things come up into our mind. So one of the methods of technique that he has given is that if you can't do that, then just imagine a picture of one of the prophets and just focus on the heart and focus on to that prophet, and you'll know all the good qualities of that prophet will be bouncing back to you. So that is one of the methods that you can use to go into that serene state.
Yeah.
Chitta Vikshepa. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the initial stages when we cannot concentrate without any object. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So Sutra 38, it goes as Swapna Nidra Gnana Alambanam Va. So here continuing, we are talking about calming our minds, making it pleasant. So here one more thing, what he's saying is by seeking support in the knowledge of the dream and sleep states. So what it exactly means is, so sometimes, sometimes we get a very good night's sleep, so we don't have any dreams or anything. So that is actually a very good sleep, but not every time we have a good night's sleep, right? So sometimes we have a disturbed sleep, or sometimes we go into dreams. So if we understand what we had, that dream, what we had, like if we are able to remember what was the dream and why we got that, so learning about that knowledge, the knowledge of sleep that comes in the sleep. So by meditating on that knowledge, it looks like we can be, we can have a content and unfluttering mind. That's what he says. Here one example, what they said was like sometimes if we dream of like angels coming in the sleep, or if we listen to some music or something like that, so it will be very pleasant and blissful experience in the sleep. So once we get up from that sleep again, if we continue the same state of mind, that blissfulness continues in the same day, it will have a big impression, right? The dream what we had. So if we continue that, then the mind becomes pleasant and calm, and that's what he said. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepika.
So we can move on to 39. Yadhabi mata dhyanadvaha. So yatha is as, abhimata is like desired. Abhimatam we also call it Telugu, so it's the same word. Abhimata is whatever we like or desired. Dhyanat is meditate on. Va is or, like you or. So it's like a continuation of the previous what Deepika just said, like or by meditation on whatsoever thing one may like, the mind becomes stable. So this sutra discusses about the ways in which the mind can become stabilized. So mind being seen by the great sage Patanjali Maharshi, a transcendentalist who has the divine insight of highest spiritual knowledge, tries to emphasize that with yogic practices, we can overcome the repeated cycles that one undergoes with birth and death. One should focus on the practice of whatever it takes to stabilize their mind. So you can practice, you may have, everyone might have their own ways to stabilize your mind. You should get that point where you should be able to understand how you can stabilize your mind. You don't have to follow other, but everybody can have their own ways how to stabilize one's mind, and because one's mind can be controlled and stabilized, we can attain it elsewhere. So once we stabilize, we can also attain it elsewhere too. So the object of previous sutras in this section is to bring that stability to the mind, so that by acquiring this ability to be able to control and stabilize our mind, it can also be applied to spiritual meditative practices. So if this can be achieved, at least to a certain extent or limited degree, it will be the actual absorption of the mind in that which is transcendental, that is supernatural, which will ultimately lead to Samadhi state. That's what it's trying to say. So the main goal is to control our mind. Obviously, we all know, and we all go to different sadhanas and practices, which from the one to other, to understand how we can stabilize our own mind, right? So there is also an exercise in gymnasium. One will work with the mind muscles to bring to a fixed point and then begin engaging that which is transcendent. So they say like focus on the third eye. So there are also different practices. So it's all like everything is to control one's mind. So objects that are purely spiritual or transcendental absorption that mind can focus upon are first the Atman, the spiritual living being, oneself. Next one is a Brahman, the absolute truth, the limitless ocean. And third is like a Paramatman, also feature of absolute truth, and Ishvara, that is Ishvara. So who is sitting within the hearts of all living beings. And the principal focus of all yogis is they transcend from one state to other. And the finally is the Bhagavan itself, the super soul or Purnatma we call. So there is also levels how we focus. Once we can stabilize our mind, we can achieve or transcend into the next levels of reaching to the Paramatma or the Bhagavan itself, what are called the Purnatma, also they call in Telugu. So we can get to the highest truth once we become absorbed in a limitless focus of the mind. So that's how it's further explaining here. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rana. So we finished calming the mind segment. Now we thought we will just revise from 1 to 39, and we'll see how much we can cover, and the rest of it we can cover in the next class. The first, what is yoga and why yoga? I think Prachi.
Yeah. So the first one says Atha Yoganu Shashanam. This Atha basically means yoga. Atha means now. Yoga is the Samadhi, and Anusashan is a discipline. What Shri Patanjali Maharaj is saying, Shri Patanjali sir is saying that now at this moment of transition begins the instruction in the discipline of yoga. The Atha here implies Shri Patanjali's fitness and authority to teach. Nothing that is new, but something that has already been there. It also, the word was also traditionally used to indicate the beginning of a course of a study intended to remove doubts. Be alert, stay focused, for any doubts you have concerning the timeless teaching of yoga will now be erased, basically. So Anusashan is a discipline. Now he is imposing that it's not the discipline that somebody else is putting on you. You have to put your own self-discipline. You should be ready to put the self-discipline on yourself to learn the yoga. Now, what is yoga here? The yoga is the union of body, mind, and spirit. Yoga also, the second one says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. This is very important, I feel, this sutra is, because it talks about the control of the modification of the mind stuff is yoga. The mind stuff here is Chitta. Chitta is further divided into three parts. Chitta basically means Chitta is the reflected consciousness of Purusha on Prakriti. Although Chitta become limited when it comes in contact with ego. So Chitta is divided into three functions. It's Manas, Buddhi, and Ahamkara. Manas is that aspect of mind stuff through which the impression enters. Manas. It is associated with the functioning of senses. Buddhi takes the impression from Manas and through a process of comparison and discrimination, categorize them. Now, Buddhi is also the purest evolution of Prakriti. It is basically a bridge between the spirit, which is a Purusha, and the Prakriti. Now, from buddhi evolves ahamkara. Ahamkara is the ego. It is at the level of the ego that the suffering arises. And vritti here means the whirlpool, basically the whirlpool of thoughts, where Sri Patanjali uses to describe the primary activity of the mind. And Nirodha is restriction. So it's saying the whole Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha is if you learn to control the mind, the modification of mind stuff, which is Chit, Manas, Buddhi, and Ahamkara, then what will happen? The third shloka will goes to Tada drashtu swarupe vasthanam. If you are able to do that, then you will be able, then the seer abides in its own nature. It is then when one is established in the true sense of seer called self. The seer is nothing but the power of seeing, although pure appears to see through the mind. Seer is another way of referring to the Purusha, which is a pure consciousness. What I really like this. It says the seer is always present. You know, our true self, our true identity is always there, but it seems to disappear and appear. So by controlling the mind stuff, we are making sure that seer will no longer be a visitor coming within the periods of mental stillness and leaving the mind. So that will make it restless. So that's why it's saying if you, it's basically one after the other sloka is talking about what will happen if you control the mind stuff, the vrittis of mind stuff, and what will happen if you don't do it, which is the fourth one, vritti sarupya mitaratra. Again, vritti means activities here. Swarupya means identification of a form or nature. Itarata means elsewhere. At other times, the self appears, at other times assume the forms of mental modification. Now, in the book, it is beautifully described. This example, I really like it. It says, the process of misidentification is very deceptively, we say to this ourselves very innocently that basically when we look into the mirror, we look at our body, and we look at our body and we say, oh, I'm thin, I'm tall, you know, I'm sick, or whatever the way you look at in the mirror, you're looking at the body. Now the same thing when you look in the mirror, but now you're looking it from the mind, right? So what do we say? We say I'm a professor, or I'm a teacher, or I'm a doctor. Now I appears to undergo changes, yet the self hasn't changed. So it is a reflection of the self in the mind mirror that changes. The self remains unaffected and unlimited. So if you're not able to control the nirodha, if you're not able to control the vrittis, then you'll keep decepting yourself all the time, and your mind, your vritti will always take over. Yeah, this is what I understood from as a summary. You'll always be in deception of separating the body and the mind.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Patanjali Maharshi talks about Chitta and Vritti in the beginning stages, in the first sloka or second sloka, shows how much important it is for us to focus on.
Yeah. I think the base is this, you know, and then it's more further divided into the rest of the sutras. But the base is, this is what the base is. Like if you are able to control your vrittis, you know, through the whatever is happening in the mind, then you have reached to a level of samadhi.
Yeah, true. Next, 5 compulsive states.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prachi. 5 compulsive states, Balagari.
Okay. So the Sutra 5 to 11 explains different modifications, that is vrittis of our mind, chitta. So the 5 says vrittayah panchataya klishta aklishta. Klishta aklishta means painful and non-painful or pleasure. So there are 5 classes of mental modifications, vrittis, and some are painful, others are not painful. And mental activity is motivated by duality. So mind's attention always flows towards the pleasure or pain. That is how our mind is. The truth is, the vritti activity can obscure the happiness which is our true nature. Here, our true nature is obscured by the different vrittis are from our mind. The flow of the vritti towards the painless is characterized by clarity. So the flow of the vrittis towards the painless is characterized by the clarity, discernment, and selflessness. This is how we feel no pain, which is painless or pleasure, which is our true nature. So the mental activities that bring pain are caused by our ignorance, and also that it is maintained by the power given to our thoughts, those thoughts. So through the meditation, we can increase the pull of our painless or happy vrittis. And over the time, the pain-free, with pain-free thoughts, they gain control over painful thoughts or vrittis. And that is how, in 5 it explained. And number 6 is pramana. So what are these vrittis? These are 5 different vrittis. These are pramana, viparya, vikalpa, nidra, smrutaha. So these are the 5 primary activities of our mind. So our goal is to attain nirodha over these vrittis in the mind. These 5 categories are right knowledge, which is pramana, the way we gather information, whether it is valid or not, that is pramana, which is right knowledge. And the next one is viparya, which is the misperception. It is the knowledge not based on a form. So that is the misperception. Vikalpaya, which is a conceptualization, that is the knowledge based on the language alone. So we did not see the real scene or the real object. Here, nidra, next one is sleep, that is the deep sleep, and smruti, which is the memory. These are the 5 modifications, he's explaining. And here, I'll go one by one. And also this direct knowledge, pramana is categorized into 3 different groups, which is pratyaksha, anumana, agama, pramanani. Pratyaksha, which is the direct perception, the knowledge we gain directly through our 5 senses, which are eyes, ears, smell, taste, and touch. That is we trust. When we gain our knowledge through our 5 senses, that is the trusted knowledge, and also it is valid. It confirms to the actual facts. Direct experience is the best teacher. To gain knowledge through reading a book or listening to someone's experience is a second-hand one. Example, to know about fire burning our skin is different from the direct knowledge of touching and feeling the burning of pain. Direct perception is the initial impact of a stimulus. So that is how it we put into our mind. And on an individual consciousness, it helps to investigate the world and our innermost self. That is the direct perception, because in direct perception, we are gaining knowledge through our 5 senses directly. Direct perception can be hindered by lack of focus, ego, desire, aversion, and fear. With all these, we can obscure. And then next one is inference, which is anumana. Mind discriminates faculty. Discriminating faculty relies on previously gained knowledge. We always store some knowledge, whether by seeing something or hearing something, we store. From that, we try to analyze. Fire can be detected by inference when we see the smoke. So somewhere when we see the smoke, we know that there is some fire going on. Inference knowledge is only reliable after analysis of the situation, because in this case, in the fire case, fire can be detected by smoke smell, or the fire truck or fire alarm, something like that. So that is how we analyze. So that is the inference, anumana, we will analyze it. Mind has a tendency to jump into conclusions. with inference causing false accusations. So our mind always has, always we try to jump into, we do not always right conclusion, wrong conclusions also. So with inference causing false accusations, which creates interpersonal problems. That is how we listen something through somebody, we interpret differently, and that creates problem. We need to have accurate recollection, assessment of the situation, and the right conclusion. That is how we can solve the problem. And next one is agama, which is authoritative scriptural knowledge. And that is how another way we can get the knowledge. It is a valid source of knowledge, experts' advice and guidance from scriptures and from rishis and enlightened individuals. That is how we get all this knowledge. Because all these people, all these rishis and saints, they studied and then they experimented on themselves, they experienced, and then they wrote. This knowledge from direct experience of sages, saints, prophets, and spiritual masters, it has proven its reliability to countless seekers. So after following this, going to ashrama and studying under them and then experiencing, a lot of people have proven. And also like when we listen and hear to Patriji sirs, we know how the truth, is, we can follow the truth, and also how we can absorb and on our own, we can realize. So it has proven its reliability to countless seekers. They are like roadmaps to our higher self destination. So only those are, they are the roadmaps, but we have to learn, understand, and have an experience on our own. So it is like a roadmap. So next one is viparyayo midhya jnanam atadrupa pratishchitam. Here viparyaya is misperception. So in misperception, it is the meaning of is to flow away or around. So here in misperception, when it occurs, the mind misses the real point and flows away from the truth or around the truth, while drawing the conclusions about an occurrence. So in viparyaya, it misperception. It is not real perception. So that's what occurs. Viparya is opposite to Nirodha. In Nirodha, we hold the mind's attention very steady. In Viparya, mind lacks steady focus. Information relayed by the senses is incomplete, and logic is faulty, irrelevant. Irrelevant information is added. So here, the memory does not contain facts pertinent to the objects perceived. Because of this, wrong information stored in the mind. Example, mistaking a coiled rope for a snake in a lightly, dimly lighted room. So when we don't have right perception, when we go into a room, when we see a coiled rope, we think, it is a snake. That is called, in philosophy, adhyasa. That is the misperception. Even though it is not rope, we are perceiving it, it is, even though it is not snake, we are perceiving as a snake, looking at the rope. That is a misperception. The causes of misperception or viparyaya is ignorance, ego, attachment, aversion, and also fear and clinging to the body. So these are the causes of the viparyaya. Next one is vikalpa. Sabda jnananupati vastu sunya vikalpaha. Here vikalpa means verbal delusion. So verbal delusion or conceptualization. We visualize and, some kind of concept. Knowledge based on language alone, independent of any external object, is conceptualization. Here, knowledge based on language alone. We listen from somebody and then we form some idea. That is the conceptualization. In conceptualization, there is no external point of reference. Reality or truth is obscured. We can listen or read how sweet a mango tastes, but it is only a concept. Until we experience the mango taste on our own, we don't know. We just, listen from somebody. That is a concept. So for yoga sadhana, students who are interested in direct perception of reality, the conceptualization forms blocks to direct perception. Suppose we know somebody says, oh, somebody describes about Atma, in how to achieve, but only reading and listening to it is not enough. That is only a concept. We had to do sadhana on our own and we had to experience. That is the real truth. That is what he's saying. So the conceptualization, he's saying in the form blocks in the yogi. That word, it distracts the mind from the logic of inference. And it stops from the benefits from the wisdom of authoritative testimony. Knowledge gained through concept is not considered valid unless there is an actual object or event that is directly perceived. Here, the power of language, that power of language creates vrittis. Example, listening to the news or reading fictional stories. Suppose we listen to our news daily on the TV, and whether it is right or wrong, truth, we don't know how much truth is there, but we form some conceptualization, we know listening to all those stories. So next one is nidra. Abhava prachaya lambana vrittihi nidra. Here nidra means deep sleep, which is sushupti. So the sleep is a vritti which embraces the feeling of nothingness or void. So when we go into deep sleep, we don't have any dream or anything. We don't know. We just feel that, we don't even feel. We go into that nothingness or void. And sleep is a state in which all other vrittis are suspended. This refers to deep sleep or dreamless sleep. It is not mere absence of mental activity because we remember we slept. After we get up, we know that we slept thoroughly. Although deep sleep provides much needed rest or healing rest to the body, a physical body, but at subtler level, it rejuvenates our mind also. So for advanced yogi, deep state of meditation, it provides a lot of rest and also rejuvenation for both the body and mind. So that is how it is more than a sleep for a yogi. The lot of meditation, that's what we listen, we hear all the time. Next one is smriti, which is memory. Anubhuta vishaya sampramosha smritihi. Here, all experiences impact the mind as vrittis. After some time, the vrittis become subtler and sink into the bottom of our mental lake, where they become samskaras. And those samskaras are stored in as impressions in our subconscious mind. So, all these experiences, what we learn and what we go through from all our panchendriyas, they impact the mind as vrittis. And after some time, the vrittis, they become subtler and they sink into our bottom of the mental lake. So later they can become active. Those samskaras, later they can become active and influence our conscious mental state and return to the surface of the mental lake as a memory. Suppose when we were a child, when in our childhood, we go through some incidents, and that samskara is formed in our subconscious mind. And suddenly, in the present time, something triggers, and suddenly that memory comes up. That is what, how it acts. That acts, from that mental lake, it surfaces as a memory. Memory is the only one of our senses that concerns our past. So even out of all senses, memory is the only one which concerns about our past. Without memory, if we could not learn, we cannot learn from our experiences. So, but we have to have memory. Without memory, we cannot learn from our experiences. So it is very important. But in that memory, we have to know what to store and what to not store. And those are all our mental modifications, which are vrittis. That's all for now, for me, from me. Thank you, Madhavi.
Thank you, Andibala Garu. Guys, we still have 3 more to go. if you are okay until 11:30, we can do. If not, we can continue in the next class.
For me, it's okay,
How about others? For whom your key, for others, if you can't, then please let us know. We can. Maunam ardhangikaram anukoni, I will take it as yes. If you guys don't say anything.
See, because there are 5 of them, it took longer.
Yeah, I know it's like, and the 39 sutras also we chanted.
Yeah.
So Prachi said she has to go. How about others? Others are good to go?
Maybe next 2 summaries we can go ahead in the next class maybe.
I think we have 3 summaries. We'll finish Madhu ma'am's summary and we can continue.
Yeah. At least, Madhavi, we can finish yours.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that's a small one only, I think.
Okay. So we are talking about controlling the vrittis here from Sutra 12 to 16. Here Patanjali Maharshi talks about the 2 ways how to control the vrittis, which is Abhyasa and Vairagya. And he talks a little more about Abhyasa in Sutra 13 and 14, and he talks more about Vairagya in 15 and 16. Okay. So number 12 is Abhyasa Vairagya Bhyam Tan Nirodha. To Tan Nirodha, for the stopping of that mind, there are two practices, which is 2 methods, which is one is Abhyasa, which is practice, deep practice, and Vairagyam, which is detachment. With these 2 methods, the Tan Nirodha can happen. So that is what is the meaning of Sutra 12, simple. And we'll go to Sutra 13. So Sutra 13 and 14 talks about how the practice should be. Okay. So tatra sthitau yatno bhyasaha. Tatra, in that. Tatra, in that. Sthitau. Sthitau is that steadiness. Yatno is the effort. Bhyasaha is the practice. He was talking about practice, right? How the practice should be. So he says the steadiness, the practice should be steady. So through the practice of Abhyasa and Vairagyam, we started to achieve the steadiness of practice and move towards, forward in the path. So when your practice is steady, consistent practice, then this, he was talking about practice, right? How the practice should be. So the practice should be consistent and steady, with so that you can transcend from whatever stage you are to a later stage, or transcend the boundaries. So if you think I can sit only for 30 minutes, do more, so that you can break that barrier of 30 minutes, or any barrier you put for yourself, break that. With steady practice, you can break whatever barrier you have put for yourself. So the consistency, steadiness, effort, and practice, or how should our abhyasa or the practice should be. Then in the next sutra, he talks about Satu Dhirga Kala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Dhruda Bhumihi. So these are the pillars of abhyasa here. So Satu, Sa is that abhyasa, and Dhirga Kala is a long period. Nairantarya is no interruption. It's okay, Madhvi. So without any, Nairantarya is no interruption. Satkara, Kara is the practice, and how should the practice be? With sincere devotion. And Sevito, utilized. And Dhruda is firmly, Bhumihi is grounding. So he talks about the nature of abhyasa in this sutra. So practice for a very long period. Whatever practice we are doing, it should be a long period. Maybe this lifetime, or maybe lifetimes. If you practice something, we might achieve in this lifetime, we might not achieve in this lifetime. So, but still, the practice should go on until you achieve it. Any number of lifetimes it takes. So Patanjali Maharshi here, that lady was telling that there is a rule to master something. It is the 1,000 hours rule. If you pick up anything, minimum it takes 1,000 hours maybe to get something, some knowledge of it. To master, I do not know how many lifetimes it will take, but still. Then that is practicing for a long period. The second one is we practices without interruptions. Without interruptions means today you practice, tomorrow we are busy and we think, okay, let me do it day after tomorrow. Today I don't have time. No, that should not be the case. You need to practice each and every day. That is what he talks about without any interruption means. Then he says what is the third thing is we do it with earnest devotion and also with the same enthusiasm how we started off with something. That enthusiasm should be there each and every time you sit to the practice. And the steadiness, everyday practice should be there. The amount of practice can be increased. And whenever you are sitting, that devotion to that practice should be there. So that is how the practice should be. Like how we are practicing this Patanjali Sutras, every Friday we are doing it, right? So no matter what, how many ever people are coming, Madhvi is still going on. So that is how the practice should be. I don't know, we will master this in this lifetime, this Patanjali Sutras and our Vrittis in this lifetime. If it happens, well, good. If it doesn't happen, we should move on again, practice in our lifetime, no leaving it. That is what I thought when I was understanding. And then everything becomes a second nature to you. So once you keep practicing, like it becomes a memory, the subconscious, it takes up, right? So it becomes a second nature to you. It won't become anything difficult for us. Like for us, when I was learning music earlier in the beginning, the sarigama, the shrutis, I did not do, the tone, the tempo, everything, whatever madam was telling, I couldn't understand. But with continuous practice each and every day, now something goes wrong, I can understand a little. So, but there is a long way to go for me. But that's what continuous practice should be there. Without any interruption and earnest devotion whenever you sit. That is how our practice should be. So then he goes on to the next sutra. Here he talks about detachment. Earlier 2 sutras we were talking about practice, right? Now he's talking about detachment. How should what is detachment and what are the types of detachment here? So drushtanu shravika vishaya vitrushnasya vashikaraha. So drushtanu, the things that we are seeing or things that are perceived by seeing through our eyes. Shravika, what we hear, what we are hearing through our ears. Vishaya, whatever we are perceiving, that is Vishaya. The Vishayas that we are seeing and listening. Vitrushnasya, lack of thirst. Trushna is the thirst, Vitrushna, which is lack of thirst. Vashikara. Vashikara is the 4th stage of detachment. Sangna Vairagyam. Actually, Vairagyam is the 4th state of detachment and Sangna is the understanding. So the sutra is Drushtanu Shravika Vishya Vitrushnasya Vashikara Sangna Vairagyam. So here the sage is talking about what is Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment and what qualifies as detachment. Actually, what is detachment? What qualifies? So Vairagya is a very, very high level of detachment. That is the 4th stage of detachment. He talks about what are these 4 Vairagyas are. Do you have time, Madhvi? I will tell the 4 stages of Vairagya also.
Yes, Madhu will finish it. Yeah.
Okay. So he says the Vairagya he's talking about is the 4th stage of Vairagya. But what are the rest 3? We'll go to the 4th later. So the first stage of Vairagya is Yata Mana, means first we think of practicing, right? We get the thought, let me practice this. That is the first stage. Then Vyatireka, the practical detachment. Okay, this I want, this I don't want. You understand what is needed, what is not needed, and you get detached. You practice that detachment, right? That is, you practicing the detachment is the second stage. Then ekendriya. So we have these 5 senses, right? You have come over 4 senses, but the 5th sense you are not able to come over. So for example, if I am a foodie and I like sweets, how much ever I try, my mind goes there only. Maybe whatever I see, I'm not, I don't want to buy these. Maybe I am detached from what I am seeing, but I'm not able to detach from the taste. So everyone, he says, though we are becoming by practicing detachment, you might get detached to a lot of things, but still that 3rd stage is where you are still attached to one thing, one sense, which you are trying, but you're not able to come over it. That is the 3rd stage. But the 4th stage is vashikara, the complete control of your senses. The last sense also you have, conquered. So that is, all your senses are under your control. That doesn't mean you should not eat, or you should not see, or you should not buy, or anything. It's not that, but you are having your control over your senses. That is what he's talking about. So you're not running wherever your eyes are seeing, or whatever you're watching on the, we see the phone, we pick up the WhatsApp and one one chat to the other chat, we just move on, right? So we are not having the control of our senses. So that is what he's talking about. So one step to the other. You want to start practicing, you start practicing detachment, you have got control over 4 of your senses, but not the last one. And now you have got control over all of your senses. That is what he's talking about here. So that is what is drushtanu shravika vishaya vitrushnasya vashikara sanya vairagyam. So, and then the last sutra is tat param purusha kyatir guna vaitrushyam. So tat is that, tat param, highest kind of. Purusha. This Purusha is Purusha and Prakriti that we talk about. Purusha is the spirit, Prakriti is the nature. And Khyati is deep understanding. And Guna are the gunas of us that are Tamas, Rajas and Sattvic gunas of a human being. And Vaitrushyam is the thirstlessness or the desirelessness. So he explains the meaning of Vairagya very deeply here. That Vairagya is the outward senses, right? Here it is the inner qualities of a person here. So that in the 15th sutra, he was talking about Paravairagyam. Here he is talking about Aparavairagyam, the highest form of detachment. So here, Vairagyam should even rise above these 3 gunas of Tamas, Rajas and Sattvic. Tamas guna is being lazy. Rajas guna is always running after something. No, I have to do this, I have to do that. I have so many things to do, and multitasking and all that. And this Sattva guna is quiet and, stable. But people run between one guna to the other guna too. We might be a complex person with having a couple of other, combination of 2 also, or 3. So, we don't have any desires for these gunas. We have to come there, come to that stage. That is the true detachment. It's challenging to rise above all these gunas, but the sages are there, but it's a constant journey. And coming over these gunas might not happen in one lifetime, but don't let that stop us and slip back. Maybe I have come over my attachment or attachment to this. Don't be happy and again go there and slip back. Be confident and don't relax. That's what he's saying. Once you have achieved one or conquered over from Tamas to Rajas or Rajas to Sattvic, don't stop there. Keep going and keep practicing, because there is a chance to slip back, and don't let that happen, because even for the yogis it is very hard to stay at that stage of non-detachment, because we are living in this world where we perceive things through our eyes and all our senses. So it is though we are practicing, it is not easy, that we are running, we go where we perceive, or sometimes getting attached. So that a constant thing happens, but again come back and keep practicing to, so that we can at least achieve in our this lifetime, this have all our senses in our control. So keep practicing, and detachment is the best form of getting over conquering our mind and our vrittis. So this is what I have.
Thank you, Madhu. Everybody did a great job, guys. And as it is, we went beyond the time, but it's okay. I think it's worth. Next time, what we will do is we will just have one review of like maybe with all the sutras. And then maybe one person will have the review of the Ravali will do the next one in the next session, and then the following session I will do it. So that way, one review for one session, that way I think we can accommodate that. Because this today we had 39 sutra chanting, so it took a little while. That's okay. We learn each and every day. And one thing I would want to tell you guys is today there is, before getting into announcement, you guys are putting so much of effort in telling and explaining everything. And when you come on the video and tell us, because we will see your expressions, and then it will be more impactful. I know the audio is good, but right now we have the luxury of video. So it will be really nice if we can come on the video and then tell and see the expressions of the people, and that way there will be more impact. And I'm not taking no for an answer, because you have spent so much of time on this. So you have to come on the video, at least brush up and then come. That's what I did today.